In the late 1980s, Mexican singer Chalino Sánchez rose to fame as the king of Corrido, referring to the genre of music made up of ballads about drug lords and associated gangsters. Sánchez performed songs about cartels, drug trafficking, and true crime, and his sincere lyrics resonated with fans who understood the struggles of life in some of the poorest and most violence-plagued areas of Mexico. Sánchez was born in Sinaloa, Mexico in 1960, and he grew up surrounded by poverty and violence. When he was just 15, he killed a man who had raped his sister. A decade later, his brother was murdered at a hotel in Tijuana. Shortly after his brother's death, Sánchez wrote his first corrido, the type of traditional narrative ballad that he later became known for. While serving time in prison for petty crimes in the 1980s, Sánchez continued writing songs, transforming the violence-riddled stories of his fellow inmates into poetic verses. Upon his release, Chalino Sánchez recorded his first demos. He sold cassettes of his music from the trunk of his car and started performing at quinceañeras. By the early 1990s, Sánchez was popular throughout Mexico and Southern California, but his fame came at a price. In January 1992, Sánchez was performing in Coachella, California, when a man jumped onto the stage and started shooting at the singer. Sánchez returned fire, but he missed his target and killed an audience member. In the aftermath of the incident, Sánchez became paranoid, but he was still determined to show up for a planned series of concerts in his home state of Sinaloa. So on May 15, 1992, Chalino Sánchez took the stage at the Salón Bugambilias in Culiacán. While his band played the first notes of a song, someone in the crowd handed Sánchez a note. Nobody knows what it said, but Sánchez was visibly shaken by its contents. Still, he continued the concert, and he left the club with two of his brothers, his cousin, and several women at the end of the night. As the group was driving through Culiacán, they were pulled over by armed men who identified themselves as police officers. They told Sánchez that their commander wanted to speak to him, so the singer got into their car. He was never seen alive again. The next morning, two farmers found Sánchez's body in an irrigation canal with 2 bullet holes in the back of his head. To this day, the identity of Chalino Sánchez's killers remains unknown. Were they cartel members who were angry about their portrayal in one of the singer's narco corridos? Or had the murder Sánchez committed nearly 2 decades earlier come back to haunt him? And what exactly did the note that he was handed on stage have to do with his death? You're listening to History Uncovered, brought to you by the digital publisher All That's Interesting, where we explore the uncharted corners of the natural world and the world past. I'm All That's Interesting editor Kara Johnson.
And I'm All That's Interesting staff writer Kalina Fraga.
And today we're discussing the life and death of Chalino Sánchez, the Mexican singer who was murdered just hours after receiving a mysterious note on stage. It's quite the story, and it's still unsolved, so that kind of adds an extra layer of intrigue. So Chalino Sánchez was a Mexican singer of narco corridos. And if we have any native Spanish-speaking listeners in here, forgive me. I studied Spanish for like 8 or 9 years in school, and I still cannot roll my R's to save my life. So I am going to butcher the word narco corrido, but I'm not even gonna try. So narco corridos are these narrative ballads, and they often tell tales about cartels, drug trafficking, the Mexican Revolution, murders, things like that. They're a subgenre of regular corridos, which are just the narrative ballads that tell about historical events and the struggles of daily life, heroic tales, things like that. So Sánchez was born in Sinaloa in 1960, and he was raised in poverty surrounded by cartel violence. So that really marked the first few years of his life. His father died when he was a child, and he'd turned to a life of crime by the time he was a teenager. He killed a man at 15 who had raped his sister. He reportedly spotted him at a party and just walked up and shot him without saying a word.
Wow.
And there's a theory that this came back to haunt him later in his life, but again, just a theory. After he killed this man, he had to leave Sinaloa, obviously. He fled to Tijuana, and there he started working as a coyote, helping smuggle immigrants across the U.S. border. And he fled to the U.S. himself in 1975 and worked on farms there while continuing this smuggling operation with his brother. He married a woman named Maricela Vallejos in 1984, and they went on to have 2 children. And that same year that he got married, his brother Armando was killed in a hotel in Tijuana. And this spurred Sanchez to start writing his first corridos. And his first one was called Remembering Armando Sanchez. And it kind of just told the story of his brother's murder and the aftermath. After this, he spent a little bit of time in prison for various crimes. There's not a lot of info on this, but some sources say they were drug crimes. And while he was in prison, he started writing the narco corridos that he became known for by taking the stories of his fellow inmates and transforming them into these beautiful songs, very poetic, but also riddled with violence. He was free by 1987, and that's when he started recording his demos. He started out recording the songs that he'd written in prison and giving them to the fellow inmates that he'd written them for. And then they started asking for copies, and it kind of went on from there. So he started selling his cassettes out of the trunk of his car and at flea markets, and he was hired to perform at quinceañeras, and his fame just kind of grew from there. And by 1989, he'd formed his own record label, and he was making music full-time. So that's an interesting start to an entertainment career.
Yeah, so people liked that he wrote songs about their lives, even though it was about their like criminal.
Right. Yeah, they were kind of just raw and real, and people appreciated that. So some examples of these lyrics that he wrote, he has a song called The Crime of Culiacán about two men who were killed. And the lyrics say they were found at dawn, they had their guts on the outside, and a dog ate them. So again, very raw. And then another song, Smuggling at the Border, he writes, crossing through the desert to reach Tijuana, they carried marijuana in a coffin. And then it goes on to say, a fierce shootout ensued with wounded lying everywhere. Left behind in San Isidro lay 14 dead bodies. And he had kind of regular love songs and typical ballads too. They weren't all this very grisly lyrics, but that's what people liked, I guess. That's what he became known for. It kind of told the real story of the lives they were living in the more violent parts of Mexico.
Yeah, it's like gritty, but not like, I almost said beautiful, and I guess
in ways it was,
I don't know if that's the right word. Yeah, his storytelling maybe is beautiful, but they're gritty stories.
Right. It was just beautiful that it was their reality. And not many people had written popular songs about that before. So his fame started to grow in Mexico and Southern California, and he started booking nightclubs and other concerts in the area. But it came at a price. The violence he sang about really caught up to him. On January 25th, 1992, he was performing at a nightclub in Coachella, California, when a man named Eduardo Gallegos requested a song and then jumped on stage and started shooting at Sanchez. I don't know if he planned to do that in the beginning. I think something said he had drugs in his system and was under the influence. So it may have been a spur of the moment decision. I don't know. But Sanchez was struck twice in the chest, but he returned fire. He missed Gallegos, and he accidentally killed a 20-year-old man who was in the audience. And again, there wasn't a lot of info on this, but it looks like he wasn't charged because it was deemed self-defense. And then Gallegos, in turn, was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison for attempted murder, and he was recently released in 2023. So this shooting gave Sanchez a lot of press. His sales went up. The radio started playing some of his less violent songs, and his popularity, again, continued to grow. And apparently at his next performance in Los Angeles, the venue reached capacity 6 hours before his performance, and they had to turn people away because so many people wanted to see him.
Wow.
And all this while his fame's continuing to grow, he's becoming paranoid, particularly after the incident at the nightclub in Coachella. And he apparently started giving his gun collection away to friends. He sold the rights of his music so he could buy his family a house. And his team was warning him. He had a series of upcoming concerts in his home state of Sinaloa. And his team was warning him not to go because of the dangers. And he didn't listen. So on May 15th, 1992, 4 months after this initial shooting, he performed at Salon Bugambilias in Culiacán. And there's a video of this whole incident that goes around online a lot, and it's really kind of chilling to watch his facial expressions change throughout it. But someone in the crowd hands him a note as he's performing. His band's starting to play a song. And as the music's playing, he reads this note on stage, and he starts looking visibly nervous. He wipes his forehead. He kind of gives a scared smile, and then he looks like he shakes it off and launches into this song. And nobody knows what the note says, but at the end of the concert, right after midnight, he left the venue with 2 of his brothers, his cousin, and several young women, and they were pulled over in Culiacán and surrounded by these armed men who said they were police officers, and their commander wanted to talk to Sánchez. So Sánchez gets in their car. I don't know if I doubt he believed them, but maybe he just wanted to protect his brothers that were with him and didn't want them to get in the middle of anything. So he goes with them. And the next morning, he's found dead in an irrigation canal. He was blindfolded. He had rope marks on his wrists, and he had 2 bullet holes in the back of his head.
Yikes.
Yeah, rough. So did the note have anything to do with this? Probably. But again, we don't know what the note says, and we don't know who killed him. So it's still technically a mystery. Most people assume that the note was a death threat and that he knew he would be killed after the concert. There's rumor that goes around saying that the note said stop singing or die, and that he chose to keep singing anyway, and that led to his death. But I think that's kind of a urban legend. There's not really any proof of that. Another theory is that he'd angered a cartel member, either by exposing their crimes or for glorifying enemy cartel member. Apparently, cartel members would hire Sánchez and other narco corridos to sing songs about their crimes.
Huh.
And so maybe he wrote a song about one cartel boss that made another one mad, and so that second cartel boss ordered his death. That's one theory. Another theory is that whoever killed him was seeking vengeance for the murder Sánchez had committed almost 17 years earlier, the man who had raped his sister. He'd fled town soon after that shooting, and I couldn't find a lot of information about how often he returned to Sinaloa after that, but it doesn't seem like it was often at all. This was only one of the few times he'd been back since he was a teenager. So that theory goes that when a relative or fellow cartel member of the man he'd killed saw that he was going to be back in Sinaloa, they plotted this whole scheme to kill him. And after his death, he became legendary. He rose immensely in popularity, which kind of sucked because he'd signed away the rights to his music to buy his family a house, and then they didn't get the profits or the royalties once his music started getting a lot of airtime. So that kind of came back to bite him. But it's funny because he wasn't known for his voice and for his singing abilities, but again, for the lyrics. He once reportedly said, "I don't sing, I bark." And he was known to be off tune a lot. And he just didn't even himself think he was a very good singer, but he was still popular because of the lyrics of his songs.
Wow.
And then his son, Adan, went on to become a singer as well, but he died in a car crash when he was 19 in Mexico.
Gosh, it's so sad.
Yeah, that was in 2004. So, yeah, some of his songs, his milder songs, were played on the radio a lot, and he's still pretty influential to this day within that genre of music.
Es cantar este corrido a 2 hombres que mataron sin tenerles compasión, vilmente los torturaron.
But, yeah, life came to a very short and violent end. I think he was 31 when he died.
Oof. No one ever claimed responsibility for his death, or they never tracked down?
No, at least not publicly. Maybe it was so obvious to whoever did it and those who knew them that they didn't need to come out and say it. And so people within that sphere know, but the police never really, at least publicly, tracked down who it was. There's never been an arrest for it. It just dumped in a ditch, and whoever killed him ran off.
And the note was never found that he had been given, which I assume he still had on his person.
No, unless his family has it and just doesn't want to share what was in it.
Yeah, although it could be something completely unrelated for all we know.
Right. It could
I
have been
mean,
like a song request.
yeah, or something like you're singing really badly tonight, which
Yeah,
is why
you
you look so
suck.
like, ugh, yeah.
Yeah, the video's interesting. I mean, he definitely looks nervous after he reads this note. But again, that's I guess you're watching it through the lens of knowing what happens to him just a couple hours later. So
Right. Yeah.
even
Yeah.
if he's just wiping his head because he's hot and looking around because, yeah, someone wrote him a note that was like, you suck, you're looking at that through, oh my gosh, he gets killed later that night. So I bet the note was a death threat.
Yeah. Right.
And it's most likely that it was probably, but
It's so crazy that, like, I mean, yeah, maybe it was something he defied. Like if it said, stop singing now, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to keep singing anyway. But if it said, we're going to kill you after the concert, I wonder why he wouldn't have just, like, booked it.
right, like go to the bathroom and jump out the window.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, maybe there were threats against his family on there too. Like, if you don't come with us after the concert, we know where your wife and kids live.
Right. That's true. And his brothers were there, it seemed, or like were
Right.
close
Yeah.
by.
His brothers and a cousin and some like friends he knew, I guess, from childhood. So I assume he didn't want to put anyone else in danger. But
Mm,
that's still just, if it was a death threat, that sucks. Carrying out the rest of the concert knowing that, oh, I'm going to be dead in 2 hours or whatever.
right. Or maybe he thought he could escape it somehow. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah. Maybe they wouldn't catch up with him. I don't know.
Do you know if other singers, people like him who sang these songs about cartels or crimes, were also targeted? Or is he kind of like a... Because, like, if the one theory is, like, maybe he sang about an enemy cartel or something, like, I wonder if they would be more popularly attacked.
Right. There's a article in Time from 2007 saying that at least 13 musicians in Mexico had been killed since June 2006, so over a year and a half. It doesn't necessarily say that they were narco corridos,
Hmm.
but apparently it was a big mystery at the time of who was killing these musicians.
And it was cartels, they think?
Yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, they were kind of like just ambushed and taken out. So they attributed it to cartels or similar groups.
Wow. Yeah, it also seems like if he had been avoiding, like, his hometown and his team's like, don't go back, there was some element of...
Yeah, it seems like his team knew that something was.
There was bad blood. Yeah.
It looks like recently in 2025, unless this is an updated article, the lead singer of a band called Enigma Norteño was shot dead in Mexico, and he sang narco corridos, or his band did.
Hmm.
But it seems like they're all kind of like all these murders that I'm reading about are just kind of still shrouded in mystery. And I don't know if that's just from like for an American audience, oh, we don't know who did this, but in Mexico and the people that live in the areas know who did it,
Right.
or if it really is such a mystery.
Yeah, I mean, I could see if, like, they're singing about, like, one faction and, like, glorifying it, that could make other people angry or make other people want to quiet them if they're, like,
Right.
spreading the word, basically.
Right. Or if he names the killer of some guy in one of his songs and that killer's like, hey, why did you put me out there like that?
Yeah, or if it's like a diss track, which I don't know if these are, but if it's like this
Yeah.
guy, is a coward or whatever.
Right. I saw someone online compared him to Tupac,
Oh.
who also got killed kind of for maybe his lyrics.
Maybe
Another
killed.
mystery, but
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I wonder if it's something similar to that, where it's been like, yeah, there was some politics going on between different groups, but
right.
it sounds like it's unclear.
Yeah, it seems like it's still such a nobody knows who wrote the note, nobody knows what the note said, nobody knows who killed him, nobody knows who the fake police officers were.
Mm.
It's just all very murky still.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's like sad in a way. If that video didn't exist of him getting this note, like probably no one would really even know about this
Right.
story, at least in the States.
Yeah, because I know I've seen the video before. Like over the years, it's just popped up on social media.
Right.
And I kind of read this guy. But I think when I saw it online, the caption was, oh, this note said stop singing and he didn't, so he was killed.
Mm.
I feel like it's framed that way a lot online, but that's not
Right.
necessarily what happened. But yeah, I didn't really know. I don't think I knew his name until I started doing the research for this article. Like for this podcast, I'd seen the video, and I'm sure his name was listed on some of them, but it's not like he's a household name for the average American.
Right, yeah. I'm not sure I'd seen the video until this podcast, but yeah, it is pretty chilling.
I saw something that said his wife and kids were in the audience too, and he sent them away in another car with a friend. I don't know if that's true. It was just kind of a speculation on another post, but that would kind of add another sad element to the case.
Right, if he did know he was in danger, yeah. Although he was with a bunch of young women, so like maybe there were other reasons why he wanted to send his like family away.
Oh yeah, true.
I don't know.
If all that's true. Definitely. Maybe they were...
If they were fans.
Yeah, it just said young women, so I don't know if they were fans or relatives or old friends or if they were like typical rock stars who wanted to take girls home after the concert, you know?
Right, yeah. Huh. Well, that's a really weird one.
I know. It's sad that he was so young, too. 31.
Well, it's kind of crazy that like, I mean, I understand like there's so many cartel-related deaths that you can't, there's just nothing to investigate or disappearances. But I don't know, maybe it's not surprising. I'm just thinking that because he was like a known person and like sort of famous, that there might have been more investigation, but it sounds like there really wasn't.
No, it sounds like they kind of, and I'm sure there was some sort of investigation, but there's not even, like nothing I've read mentions it at all. It all kind of, the story just ends with his death. I wonder if any other narco corrido singers wrote about this death.
That's a good question. Yeah,
a little meta. Is there a song about the death of Chalino Sánchez? He's always wearing a cowboy hat. I can't find any pictures of him without his cowboy hat.
What's his look?
Not a single one. There's one of him holding his son who's wearing a cowboy hat as a baby. And I don't think he's wearing a cowboy hat in that one, but his head's cut off, so.
So he could be.
He might be. Might just be really high up there. Yeah, he does look very frightened in this video.
That's so sad.
Yeah, he gets it, he reads it. His like guitar player is jamming in the background. And then he like smiles really nervously, wipes his forehead, wipes it again, sniffs, looks up, looks around, kind of like he looks into the audience. He was like looking for like, oh, who gave me this? And then he just busts into the song all within like 10 seconds.
Wow. I feel like if you got a death threat, it'd be so hard to sing. Like,
I know, like, hey, can we take a break real quick?
Right. Yeah.
I need a little water here.
Unless it was like, keep singing or else. Like,
oh, yeah, that could be true. Is this okay, so there's a video of the crowd. And it just looks like typical young people having fun, jamming around. There's like a guy walking out in the back. Maybe that could be like everyone's dancing and then there's one guy walking backwards through the crowd. I don't know. And do you think the person that gave him the note even know what it said? Like, was it one of the people who killed him later, or were they just like, hey, yo, give this to the guy on stage?
Probably just, I have no idea. But I can imagine it being like just a random, just give it to this guy.
Yeah. So, disconnect them further from the crime.
Right, exactly. Oh, that's really chilling. I think anything that's like someone's final photo or someone's final like video is always pretty chilling.
I know, those always get me.
Yeah, me too. And
then the song ends and then the video ends. So it doesn't really show what happens after he ended the song.
What year was this? 92. So it's not like today where like everyone had their iPhones out and was filming. Yeah.
There's multiple angles of this and the person who handed him the notes caught on video and this is someone had a camcorder in there.
And even that was probably pretty rare at the time to like
I feel
bring
like
a
they were still pretty
camcorder to
large
concert.
at the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Lo digo por el corrido, no se les vaya a olvidar.
I'm glad we finally got this Chalino Sánchez podcast out though after a month of promising it.
That's true. This was an audience suggestion, I think, and it was made,
I think so, yeah.
Like a while ago. It took us some time to get to it, but we have.
We have, and we have a post about him going up next week, 2 weeks from now.
Oh, nice.
On the site that I'm currently editing. It's interesting that, I guess he's already involved in crime by 15, so I guess it made sense to just hop the border and start smuggling people across.
Yeah.
I guess if you grow up in poverty and surrounded by cartels and you've already killed a man by the time you're 15, you don't really want to, it's not your priority to, I don't know, turn your life around and not live a life of crime, or don't really have the opportunity not to live a life of crime.
Yeah, there probably wasn't a lot of other choices.
No, it doesn't seem like it doesn't look like he went to school after 15, which I guess, again, isn't a priority when that's how you, grew up.
Right.
He did work on some farms in California, so he did, before he became a singer, make money that way. But yeah, again, I guess not a lot of opportunities to, I'm going to go be an accountant now.
Right. Yeah, especially if it seems like maybe he couldn't really go home, or going home was maybe complicated after.
Right. And if it seems to be undocumented in the U.S., then there's only so many career paths he has there. And his other family, or his brother, was in Tijuana, which I think, again, was kind of consumed by cartel violence at the time. Or maybe not cartel violence, but his brother's murdered in a hotel room there. So some sort of violence.
Oh, his brother was also, did you say that already? Was also murdered?
Yeah, he got killed when it was in 1984. And yeah, that's what started his songwriting career.
I see.
I looked up the lyrics for the song he wrote about his brother. It was really beautiful. It goes, Tijuana, dear border, how can I forget you? With the blood of a valiant man, you've stained yourself again. Armando Sanchez, your name will remain throughout history. Being a very clever man, he began to think about the one he thought was his friend would betray him by killing him. He never thought death would find him there. Armando was asleep when that man came knocking. Just as he opened the door, he was shot 7 times. He fell badly wounded and soon after died. And obviously this is a lot prettier in Spanish because everything rhymes and flows very well. The English translation is kind of just like, oh, hey, a man came and killed my brother and he's dead now. Like, it doesn't sound pretty, but in the original language it was.
I can imagine. Yeah, it's probably a lot more poetic.
Yeah, and it talks about how the story doesn't end there. The wound continues to bleed. The other traitor nearby. The blood's on his hands. And then it talks about how he used to cross the people you'd smuggle there, and in Sinaloa in California, your people are crying for you. And then it talks about how he was taken by plane to Culiacán and buried in his hometown. His body was laid to rest. His sons, mothers, and brothers will always remember you.
I can see something like if you're saying a traitor killed him, like whoever that was might get mad.
Right. Hey, like, who you calling a traitor?
Yeah.
Like,
right. I could see that escalating.
But yeah, the Spanish is much prettier. Like, the last few lines of that in Spanish are, su cuerpo fue a descansar, tus hijos, madre y hermanos siempre te han de recordar. So it rhymes and it flows. And again, forgive my R's in Spanish, everybody. I was practicing before the podcast to see if I could actually, like, properly say narco corrido. And I think my child was like, Mom, what? Why are you making that sound? Like, it's supposed to sound nicer than that, I promise.
Our next episode is also kind of a mystery, I think.
Is it?
At least what's on the calendar right now, which is subject to change, but it's about the Easter Island statues, which I think there's still mysteries around them.
I think so.
All the mysteries have been solved.
Tried to solve a lot of them, and they have some pretty solid theories now, but we'll never know for sure.
Yeah, right. I feel like sometimes they're like, it was this thing, and then a couple of years later, they're like, oh, actually, ignore that. Like, it was something else.
Yeah, I feel like I've edited 2 news stories on them since I've been here, and both of them were different ideas on how they moved them across the island. So,
well, that should be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to discuss all those.
Indeed.
Not quite as thrilling as Chalino Sánchez, but
not as violent anyway. Yeah. And I guess in the meantime, to tide anyone over between now and then, you can always go to our website, allthat'sinteresting.com, to read all the stuff we publish every day. You can join our newsletter by going to allthat'sinteresting.com/sign-up, or become a member at allthat'sinteresting.com/membership. And this episode was an audience suggestion. I don't remember where it came from, but it came from someone in the audience. And if you also want to give a suggestion, you can either leave us a voicemail at 929-526-3029 or email us at podcast@allthat'sinteresting.com.
This was a suggestion to our podcast at allthat'sinteresting.com email by Bo Veely. Thank you, Bo.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good way to get in touch. People also have been leaving comments on Spotify, so that's also an option, but those are the two main avenues.
Yep. We appreciate all the suggestions, and we do our best to get to all of them, at least most of them, because we like to learn about these things and dive deeper into the mysteries or stories or whatnot surrounding them as well.
Yeah, definitely. This was a new story for me, and it was interesting, though tragic and a little scary. And with that,
Bye, everybody.